Are you tired of the mainstream media lying to you every single day? You are not alone. Millions of other Americans are sick of the corporate media fake news of the MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, New York Times, other Times, Washington Post, Political. Every single one of them are in the bag for the Democrats. They are all Team DNC. But now you have another option in independent creators like here on the CASHLOREN show. Well, we will go and we will expose the deep state, these unelected bureaucrats, and the mainstream media, along with the Democrats and their friends in the Rhino Uniparty, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Get the facts on the CASHLOREN show. I am your host, America's truth teller, shining a bright red light on the corruption and the hoaxes from the mainstream media and the Democrat Party. You're not going to want to miss a single moment. Join the American First Movement Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern. This is the CASHLOREN show.
In 2025, we find ourselves in a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all three of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service, it's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Well, this is one of those very hard days when we're in the world of politics, where something so tragic happens and have to come on the air and talk about what has happened today. I'm sure many of you've already known, and just in case you don't, Charlie Kirk was assassinated today, and he was such a great American patriot. He is one of the many reasons that I am here with you today. I have never met Charlie Kirk myself. I've seen his videos and the Rev conferences and listened to his show when I could, and he spoke a lot of truth. And one of the things that he really pushed forward, was having an open dialogue. And this is something that is really how we heal our country and how we bring our country back towards the middle. Is exactly what Charlie Kirk was doing, where we are not doing the party of violence, where we are the party of peace. And we want to sit and we want to have conversations with the other side of people who disagree with us. I mean, from the very start, that was Charlie Kirk's message. In fact, as we go back and find some of his older posts, this is one that he wrote. This was in October 13th of 2011. And this is what Charlie Kirk said. He was at Glenn Beck, and he said, "I am a 17-year-old high school student. I listen to you every day. I have been for the local Tea Party about the debt and deficit, fighting the liberal bias." And we're still doing the same thing to this day. Whether it be MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, New York Times, other Times, Washington Post, Political Axios, every single one of them are in the bag for the DNC. They are all Team Democrat. But just like here on the CASHLOREN show, when we now can go through and we can expose the lies the left and the mainstream media push every single day. If you can, take a moment, repost the show, and help us share a conservative message with your followers. It is free. It only takes a second, and it helps a lot. But Charlie Kirk, he was 31 years old today, and he had gone to just another Turning Point USA event over the Utah Valley University. And this assassin, apparently from the reports, was about 200 yards away and took a single shot, and it was enough. The words to come through right now are very difficult. I almost didn't want to do the show tonight, but I felt, we have to talk about stuff like this. It's important that we have these conversations. And that's when Charlie did his part. He really inspired me as well. As you don't know some of Charlie's story, he started from nothing. I mean, like he said, in this high school, and he built this giant corporation that has really changed the course of politics. And he did it through peaceful means, and especially at a very single age. But he did like what many of us did. He came in and he started with zero. And he would go and do these events and nobody would show up, or a couple people would show up. And anyone that's starting one of these from zero knows how that feels, right? When you go and you post a view, like I first did this show, I was lucky and ecstatic. Like 10 people showed up and listened. I mean, I just thought that was the world. And then I remember when 1,000 hit, and then 100, then 1,000, and then we started doing 3,000, 5,000, and now each show is averaging over 10,000 views live. Thanks to all the support and that you guys have helped them grow. But that's exactly what Charlie did, is building a great movement from zero. And when he did this peacefully and patriotically, just talking to people like you and having a conversation with people that he didn't agree with. And what is wrong with that? I mean, this is part of why I understand why so many people, they want to be anonymous, or why they don't want to not just put their faces in, but even anonymously share their opinions, because of these violent leftist rhetoric that happens, of these violent Democrats that want to take your life for no other reason because you have an opinion that they do not agree with. I mean, Donald J. Trump turned his head just at the nick of time, or he would no longer be with us either. And unfortunately for Charlie Kirk, at this outdoor thing that he was doing, I don't know if we can even do outdoor events anymore. It's the answer: how do you cover all these buildings and all these rooftops? I don't really know, but that's an answer that we have to come up with. But this is the reality that we live in, and this is what Donald J. Trump wrote. He wrote, "The great and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood more and had more heart of the youth of the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved and admired by all, especially me. And now he is no longer with us. Melania and my sympathies go out to his beautiful wife, Erica, and his family. Charlie, we love you. And may he just rest in peace." The Turning Point pointed out, and this is a bit lengthy, so I'm not going to read the whole thing, but this is again referring to what they talk about, where that the heavy heart that he has confirmed that he's gone, and that he was a gunshot wound. And this is at the Turning Point Comeback A. And then he's now with our Savior, Lord Jesus Christ. And they ask, and I ask, and everyone else asks, that you please pray for him and his family. He was only 31 years old. And he had a wife and a son and a daughter. And his son had just celebrated his first birthday. Now his son will grow up without a father, as well as his daughter, and his wife without her husband. All because Charlie Kirk had opinions that the Democrats did not agree with. I can't stress this enough about how insane these people are. One of the very hearts in that's supposed to be a part of the United States of America is that we have the right to speak our minds. And speaking your mind should not be a death sentence for anybody. But because Charlie Kirk really did something that the Democrats had always wanted to do but never were able to, and that was activate the youth groups and get the young generation to start voting. And they were voting more and more conservative. And the left just couldn't have that. They couldn't stand it. From when I was a kid to very much younger, the left has always been trying to activate the youth vote. All the go out, get out the votes and all these things, but it never worked. And so the Democrats would then mock. They say, "Oh, you're wasting all your time on the youth. You can't get them to vote." But Charlie Kirk proved them wrong. And he proved that, yes, you can get people to vote. You go out and you speak truth and you just talk to them. And that will win over the hearts and minds of the American people. That's all we really want. And we've all fought very hard for that in very different ways. Through something like we do, we go online and put a camera or microphone in our mouths and we go and speak. And conservatives have been censored for decades. And for the very longest time, especially before we even had the areas that we have now, like on X and Rumble and on YouTube, and now on where we have now on TikTok, is that we couldn't even get our voices out there because the corporate media had a complete monopoly on information. And the corporate media would lie and pretend that they were neutral journalists. And they got away with this for an entire generation, is most of you didn't think like they did. And I think the facts bear that out now. But because that they got away with it for such a long time, because there was no way to get the information out, and many would think, well, maybe I'm the oddball. Or maybe I'm the weird one. I mean, I don't agree with this leftist lunacy. But if you turn on CNN, you turn on MSNBC, or you read the New York Times or Washington Post or Political or Axios or any of the others, they all do the exact same talking points. And now what we're able to show, thanks to independent creators, is it wasn't just that they were picking and choosing stories based on what they did and didn't want you to know. It was far worse and far more devious than that. And what they do is they even take a story and they tell you about the parts that they did not want you to know about, and they leave those out. And then they would tell you the facts they wanted you to know. And if you only had that to come to, so you would come to the conclusion that the Democrats and the mainstream media wanted you to come to, but then we were able to give context. And once you're able to start giving context to these stories, once you're able to start giving the parts that they were leaving out, all of a sudden more and more people realized that the mainstream media was lying to them. I really think that part in the debate where Joe Biden went out there was a mess, and Donald Trump said, I don't know what he said. He doesn't know what he said, but here's my plan. I think that was the very moment when the mainstream media was really exposed to the American people about how big of a liars that they were. Because it went far beyond anything else. And this is just sick and maddening, especially for somebody who is peaceful and who dedicated their entire career to just talking to people. That's straightforward. It's just horrifying. And these are very sick and evil people. Deranged leftist lunatics. Charlie Kirk is no longer with us because he spoke his mind. And that's the same type of domestic terrorism and the same type of fear that they're trying to put into every other American citizen. That don't you even dare, right? Don't you try it. Don't you even bother to speak your mind, because if you do, look at what we'll do to you. And we'll destroy your businesses. We'll ruin your families. We'll try to get you fired, right? We'll bring up charges. We'll bring the whole weight of the federal government down on you if you dare speak out against us. You go up and you go into like a school board meeting and you dare to ask them about what kind of books they're putting in front of your children. Well, that must make you a white supremacist, a white nationalist, an extreme MAGA Republican. Let's just send the FBI down to kick down your door. Or if you dare to go up against the deep state and you dare to be like Trump and run for president when they don't want you to, then all of a sudden they trump up all these charges and try to throw you in prison and ruin your life and ruin your businesses. See, this is what the deep state and the left, this is their ultimate goal for power, is that they can't win on ideals. All right, the Democrats cannot win a debate. They cannot win a conversation. They know it. And that's why they were so afraid of people like Charlie Kirk and why he was so successful. And so then, and because they can't win on the ideals, they then have to try to win through silencing you. So it starts with slander. They'll call you a racist or a bigot or a homophobe or a transphobe, a white nationalist, an extreme MAGA Republican. And if the slander doesn't work, then the next thing they try to do is they try to ruin your life. Just like they did with Donald Trump. See, if they could do that to Donald Trump, just imagine what they could do to you. I mean, Donald Trump is one of those famous people in the world, right? He is a billionaire. And he was for a very long time a lifelong Democrat, New York Democrat. But then he dared to go up against the deep state. He dared to do what like Charlie Kirk did and many others did and absolutely loved our country. And because he dared to do that, the left had to teach him a lesson. They had to bring him to his knees. And so when came the impeachment hoax 1, impeachment hoax 2. And then they tried to do the January 6th and the boxes hoaxes. And then the 34 felonies and the Gene Carroll, the hoax after hoax after hoax. They went after his businesses with the civil lawsuits, right? Trying to prove that if you dare to go up against us, we will ruin your life. They tried the same with Charlie Kirk. And just like with Donald Trump, when that didn't work, they took a shot. Luckily, Donald Trump turned his head just in time. Unfortunately for Charlie Kirk, he was not able to. We have a rampant left-wing violence in our country. And then to double that up, they also refuse to even admit this. The Democrats will call this like mental illness, and they refuse to lock them up. Democrats, they have no idea what they started today. Zero. If they think that taking Charlie Kirk out is going to shut us up, they have no idea how many hundreds of thousands of people just joined our side of the fence today. And the younger generation, the media generation that's coming up now that saw this happen, how many of them in 5 or 10 years now are going to be the future leaders? Just watch and wait and see. We're just getting started. If the Democrats, if they had known what's going to happen after today, they never would have taken that shot at Charlie Kirk. Just like they did, if they'd known what was going to happen with Donald Trump, they never would have taken that shot at him either. They never would have made up all those charges against him, because that only brought more people to our side. And in this irony with the Democrats and with the left is that they have this elitist bubble, this arrogance about them, where they just have convinced themselves that no matter what they do, that they are right. And because they have that bubble, then because they kick everybody out that is not part of that bubble, they only talk to each other. And so they think, I hate Donald Trump. And the other goes, well, yeah, I hate Donald Trump. And someone goes, well, maybe I don't. Well, you're a racist. You shut up. And so they create this little community of these wild leftist activists. And then they only talk to each other. So it gives them a very distorted view of the world. And they don't realize that when they only talk to each other and when they all hate this country together, that they don't realize how small of a community they are. They don't understand there's a giant world out there that does not agree with these radical leftists. And that little bubble of theirs is shrinking by the day. And today, they screwed up big. Charlie should be with us. But because he's not, this is going to activate an entire generation of people. Watch what happens. You do not want to doubt me on this for a single second. This is just going to get huger. It's going to get bigger. If the Democrats hadn't already lost the midterms, it's gone now. And you have the see that really part of the sick and vile side of the left is that when they go and they call us all these names, they know exactly what they are doing. When they call you a racist or a bigot, they call you fascist or Hitler, they know 100% what they're doing, but they're too big of cowards to do it themselves. They have to dehumanize you first. And then once they dehumanize you, then any Looney Tune activist all of a sudden feels justified to deal violence. And when these Democrats, when the mainstream media, these cowards call people Nazis and call them fascists, the whole reason they're doing it is they don't believe it at all. They're doing it to dehumanize you, and they're hoping that someone does what happened to Charlie Kirk today. And then after that happens, of course, they do all this fake virtue signaling like Obama and Newsom and all the others did today. But this is all just as fake as the rest of the Democrat Party, because they know exactly what they are doing. But they're too big of cowards to do it themselves. Such as just yesterday, this is Senator Chris Murphy, and he said this: we're at war right now to save this country. And so we have to be willing to do whatever is necessary in order to save this country. Not him, of course, because he's too big of a coward to spend the rest of his life in prison, to be a martyr. But he's calling these radical leftist ideologues to do it for him. and one did it today. Now we find out as Utah has started that they have the death penalty here in the Utah, and apparently the shooter was captured. Now originally there was an initial shooter, and that was arrested. Then there was found out that wasn't the actual shooter, but now they're saying that they have another one, and this broke minutes before I went live. So I don't have a whole lot on the guy, so we'll have to save that for another time. But how much you want to bet this is some radical leftist ideologue who is deeply, I mean, you can just know right away. The time for us to fight at a different level has come. And I'm talking about legally and patriotically. I'm not talking about how the left does it, where they try to dehumanize people and then send sicko after them. I mean, like the way that Charlie Kirk did it, and the way that Donald Trump did it, where we have conversations and we talk to the American people. Because for us to win, all we have to do is tell the truth. That's it. See, for the Democrats to win, they have to lie. But for us to win, all we do is we just tell people the truth. And that's why Charlie Kirk became so popular. And that's why Donald Trump became so popular. And that's why the mainstream media is crashing, is because they have to lie. And that's why the Democrats are so unpopular, is because they continue to lie. They have learned no lessons. You know, we have these clips from the mainstream media. They're going to have to wait till we come back from after this greedy profit break. We're going to cover the mainstream media's reaction. You won't believe what they said live on the air here in just a few minutes. We'll be right back with this greedy profit break. This is the Cash Loren Show.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2025, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all 3 of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Folks, have you wanted to start a podcast but you just don't know where to begin? Podbeam is your all-in-one solution to host your podcast and distribute it all across the internet. With my code on the affiliate link down below, you will gain also 1 month free to try the Podbeam service. This is really your one-stop solution to hosting your podcast. Record it, you put it up to just a single upload. Then that upload will distribute to all of the main platforms all across the internet, including Apple and Spotify and many, many others. It will then also automatically share your podcast across all major social media, making your job easier so you can spend more time recording the podcasts that you love and less time managing them on the back end. Podbeam is your all-in-one solution for your podcast needs. Click on the link below, the Cash Loren, and get your 1 free month today. The corporate media has lied to the American voters for such a long time that they have lost all their influence as a result. And this has also led to the rise of the independent creators, just like here on the Cash Loren Show, where we take our spare bedroom and convert it into a studio. If you're enjoying this content, it will always be free, but you can continue to help support monetarily if you choose to do so. Click on the locals link. It is only $5 a month. This is just a cup of coffee. Not only will you be supporting an independent creator, but you'll be getting lots of free perks in addition to that as well, including exclusive articles and Sunday shows, and thanking you at the end of videos with your name recognition. Take a moment and consider and help support independent creators as we fight fake news. Go to Locals right now, hit the support button for just a cup of coffee a month. It'll be worth every single penny, and you'll gain lots of extra benefits too. One of the things we always talk about on the show is the mainstream media and how you never hate them enough. It doesn't matter how many times we show over and over again that they're willing to do and say all for the Democrat Party. Whether it be MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, New York Times, other Times, Washington Post, Political Axios, every single one of them are Team DNC. They are all in the bag for the Democrat Party. And today was no exception, as we had lost Charlie Kirk. And at the time, I'm going to play some clips from what they were willing to say. This is absolutely horrifying. And this is on MSNBC. And this is just moments after Charlie Kirk had been shot. Here is their reaction in clip 1.
Shooting like this happens, in which a shooting like this happens.
Yeah, and again, to emphasize what you just emphasized, we don't know any of the full details of this. That we don't know if this was a supporter shooting their gun off in celebration, or so we have no idea about.
You what he just said? Out of all the possibilities, what does MSNBC go directly to? We don't know if it was a supporter that was shooting off their gun in celebration or something. Let me say that one more time. We don't know a supporter was shooting their gun off in a celebration or something. And when I say that you do not hate fake news enough, I mean that you don't hate fake news enough. This is MSNBC. Now, these people are not journalists. They are activists for the Democrat Party, and they do not want to admit that the Democrat Party is the party of political violence. They are perfectly fine. When they lie and they pretend that they're against political violence, they only mean against them. But when you have things that happen like this, or you have things that happen with that Ukraine refugee, all of a sudden the Democrats are ignoring it and pretending it doesn't happen. Or they give some lame excuse on the other side. They really are the enemies of the people. And just like MSNBC tried to do, right, when there's some violent radical leftists, now they're trying to blame the right. And this is including like J.D. Pritzker here, as he also comes to some random conclusion. Here is J.D. Pritzker, the governor, who is trying to stop law enforcement, by the way. Right, this is the same governor who wants to stop Donald Trump from bringing in the National Guard to arrest criminals, put them in prison, and arrest illegal aliens and deport them from our country. You know, he declared, J.D. Pritzker thinks that enforcing our laws is a threat to democracy, that we should just keep releasing criminals back onto the streets to commit even worse and worse crimes. And when something like this happens, of course, they can't be honest and admit that this is the left, so then listen to J.D. Pritzker's explanation.
Empathy to Charlie Kirk's family and to Charlie Kirk, who obviously has, become a target for somebody. I don't know whether it's political violence because I don't know who did it. I know they seem to have somebody in custody.
That's what they're going through. Not just Pritzker, and not they also have Obama and the others. We don't know the motive yet, right? It's a mystery. I mean, why could they want to do this? Just like MSNBC said earlier, maybe they were just shooting a gun in celebration. It was just one of his supporters. I mean, that's probably the most likely outcome. Right? It can't be some deranged leftist lunatic who's been radicalized by the same media. Right? When they sit there and they call you a fascist and they call you a Nazi, they know exactly what they are doing. They know exactly what they're trying to cause happen. And then when it does happen, all of a sudden, we don't know this. We don't know what happened. No idea. It was probably one of those right wingers. I mean, it was probably one of his supporters who was shooting in celebration. But J.D. Pritzker gets even lower than that.
But I will say that political violence, unfortunately, has been ratcheting up in this country. We saw the shootings, the killings in Minnesota. We've seen other political violence occur in other states. And I would just say it's got to stop. And I think there are people who are fomenting it in this country. I think the president's rhetoric often foments it. We've seen the January 6th rioters who clearly, have tripped a new era of political violence.
Right. So it's Trump. It's Trump supporters. It's the people from January 6th. They're still trying to go back to that same one. Right. It must be all the people on the right that they're trying to make up and lie about the ones who are so violent. And this is a complete and utter lie from the Democrats. Blatant lying. You will never hate these scumbags enough. This fat piece of garbage, this absolute scumbag that happens to be the governor of Illinois. What a vile, evil, awful person. I hope I'm being very clear what I think of this scumbag. Because the Democrats are the ones who cause this. When they go and they try to dehumanize half the country, that's where it always starts. Because in order to commit atrocities, the first thing you have to do is you have to dehumanize the other side. And once you dehumanize them, then that justifies the atrocities. See, the Democrats and the mainstream media, they understand this fully. So when they do it, the cowards that they are, and they sit back in their safe, high, lofty ivory towers, like Mayor Wu from Boston loves to say, you don't get any safety. We're going to release criminals and we're going to fire the police. But I feel very safe that I have a police car outside my house every single day. She's very grateful that she gets to be safe. But you, not so much. Same here with J.D. Pritzker. What a vile scumbag. And then you have MSNBC. They're still not done pushing their same rhetoric.
As we were just talking about a moment ago with Alan, after one of the DOJ employees was allegedly attacked in Washington, D.C., that's what Donald Trump used as...
He was not allegedly attacked. They can't help themselves with their lies. There's nothing alleged about this. And he wasn't just attacked. You notice how they skip all the details about what happened. Is the criminals that they were releasing, the Democrats, from prison, were attacking a woman, and the DOJ employee went and tried to save her, and these scumbag villains beat him up. But how does MSNBC spin this? Because they're all for the Democrat Party and they don't want you to know the truth, is that this was alleged beat up, right? We don't know if it really happened. I mean, it could be anything. I mean, we don't know what happened to Charlie Kirk today. We don't know what happened to Donald Trump. We don't know. It's a riddle. It's a mystery. All inside an enigma. We can't figure it out. It's so confusing. I say you will never hate these people enough.
Justification to send in federal troops into Washington, D.C. to get things under control. The carjacking situation, he used that. And I know it's hard to predict the future, Mark.
Yeah, you hate these people. So Donald Trump is using crime being committed to enforce our laws. I mean, the absolute horror, the shock, the unbelievableness of it, that he would dare to use officers to arrest criminals and lock them up. I can't believe he would do that. I mean, this is out of control. This is a threat to our democracy. Why would Trump even do something like that? He should just, show compassion for the criminals, right? He should just go and he should care about equity. See, life is so unfair. And so therefore, we should just keep releasing the criminals over and over and over again because, they've had a really bad life in the United States. It's just systematically racist. And so to make this right, we just have to keep releasing these criminals over and over and over again to commit worse and worse crimes. That's exactly the way the Democrats think. And they're friends over the mainstream media. And that's what they're upset about. They're upset that you're learning that they are lying. They're upset that you learn that when you lock up criminals, magically crime stops. A very small percentage of this country commits the most violent crimes. And often, it's after many, many, many arrests. I heard one sheriff say it was after 17 arrests. We just had one come out the other day, said on average, they're arrested 11 times before they convicted murder. So just imagine if after the 10th time, right, not even 3 strikes, you could cut almost all murders off. That's how bad it is. And that's what the Democrats don't want you to know. Once Trump goes into places like DC, they don't care about the National Guard. What they care about is that you will learn that they were lying. That their failure in law enforcement and their failure in cities is not something that you have to live with. You can arrest these criminals and you can make the parks and city streets safe again and beautiful again. That's what they're scared about. They're scared that you'll learn that places like Chicago, in places like New York, in places like Los Angeles, that the Democrats are lying to you about not only just the amount of crime that's happening, but how they keep releasing these criminals back out on the streets. And the Democrats and their friends in the mainstream media are scared to death at the moment that Trump goes in and starts arresting these scumbags and putting them in prison. All of a sudden, the crime stops. And then you, the American voters, just like when Biden, when they were lying about his cognitive decline, and then Trump exposed that in the debate. This is the same thing about crime now. The moment that he arrests them and he starts to put them in prison, you're going to realize the Democrats have been lying this entire time. The normies.
But you can imagine the administration using this as a justification for something.
I must admit, I'm at a loss to guess as to what happens next. But Kirk.
Right. They know what happens next. That's why they're trying to stop it. Because they know that the minute you start arresting these criminals like they're supposed to, the minute you start enforcing these laws, when you start getting rid of these DAs and these judges that refuse to do it, all of a sudden Ukraine refugees are still alive. Because that scumbag, he had been arrested 14 times. He had felonies. He had been in prison. He never should have been released. And that judge released him back on society, and now she is gone. And the mainstream media, the same ones, and the Democrats, they tried to lie about it and they tried to hide it. And the only reason we know is because we finally were able to force the video to be released. And then once the video was released, if we were still relying on the corporate media, they never would have covered it. They still don't want to. And when they're forced to cover it, they lie about the facts like they always do, as some person was murdered and there might have been they never want to tell you the facts about it. It was a black male that should have been in prison and an innocent white woman. Now they switched those around. If it was an innocent black woman and a white man had murdered her in cold blood, do you think MSNBC, CNN, ABC, NBC, New York Times, Other Times, Washington Post, Political Axios, do you think any of them would be ignoring the story right now? Or would it be on 24/7 endlessly? We all know the answer to this. They would run 24/7 coverage for months and months and months and months. But because the facts don't fit their narrative, then now they're trying to pretend that it didn't happen. We go back to a moment for the Biden administration, remember when they were trying to silence all the speech, and now you know why they were so panicked about Elon Musk purchasing X. Because the moment he did that and we had free speech, what happened? This video that they didn't want out got out. And within a very short time, had over 60 million views. And it forced the mainstream media and it forced the Democrats to talk about this. I just checked over at X a minute. We crossed 10,000. I appreciate it so much. We're over at almost 14,000 viewers now on X alone. I appreciate every single one of you being a part of this show and helping us grow and spread an American First message. If you're enjoying it, take a moment, hit the repost, and help us spread it to more voices so we can help expose the mainstream media for their lies and the Democrat Party for who they really are. America last, and we are America first. We love our country. To go on to explain that even further, we have Barack Hussein Obama, who got down from his little mansion, flight his private jet, right? Went up to his high live ivory tower to write this BS. We don't know yet what the motive of the person is. See, that's how they always start. They don't know the motive. Yes, they do. They 100%, everybody watching this knows the motive. This was a political assassination. But the Democrats trying to pretend it can be anything. And if they can't pretend it's anything, well, that's probably a Trump supporter. Or one of Charlie's supporters who was shooting a gun in just, celebration. Fake news MSNBC. But this kind of despicable violence is not despicable to Obama. Not for a second. Has no place in our democracy. Again, the same old words, we're not a democracy. But he runs the same lies. Michelle and I are praying. No, he's not. How many times you see when Obama, this is Obama, when I have to talk about him again, I'd forgotten how much of a liar he was. He just endlessly lies. He doesn't pray. He was the man who, when we would pray, we would put our hands on our heart. Remember, he put his hands behind his back and refused. Or Michelle Obama, all of this for a flag. Obama's the start of this. Obama's the one that took this and created a race war and tried to use Marxism to divide the people who are white against the people of color. This all comes from Barack Hussein Obama. Just lying, not praying, happy. Especially with his wife and his 2 young children. No. This is absolutely BS. People like Obama radicalize these people by telling them that the U.S. was systematically racist. They're telling them that white people were evil. They're calling us Nazis, calling us fascists, calling us extreme MAGA Republicans. Right? All that kind of stuff, all that led to this. He and all of them know exactly what they're doing. Then after they spent years, and for Obama decades, trying to dehumanize half the population, all of a sudden now he wants to fake virtue signal like he's really sorry. He's not. You have Gavin Newsom also giving this. The attack on Charlie Kirk is disgusting, vile, and reprehensible. I mean, he's just like Obama. He can just lie right to your face. I mean, Gavin Newsom, I strongly suspect, is one of the very few people in the world that could hook up to a lie detector and tell you anything and pass it. I mean, he is just that good of a liar. He might be a point where he even believes his own lies. And then he goes on, and then, and the Muslims reject political violence in every form. He doesn't. He calls for it constantly. He did that with LA when he tried to take back the National Guard and he didn't want to let them in. You remember the 2020 riots? He did nothing. So they say one thing, but they do another. And you watch their actions, and the Democrats' actions do not match their words. Not for a second. And some of the posts, like, let's see here. Now we have some other people on X, and the amount of vile stuff that was coming out is truly horrifying. And we are way over on a break again. So when I come back, we're going to talk about a lot of what happened on X, and then we're going to talk about a lot of crime stats. Try to get that into this show too. You're not going to miss that or anything else. We'll be back from this greedy profit break. This is the Cash Loren Show.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2025, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage on all 3 of the major networks, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Folks, have you wanted to start a podcast but you just don't know where to begin? Podbeam is your all-in-one solution to host your podcast and distribute it all across the internet. With my code on the affiliate link down below, you will gain also 1 month free to try the Podbeam service. This is really your one-stop solution to hosting your podcast. Record it, you put it up to just a single upload, then that upload will distribute to all of the main platforms all across the internet, including Apple and Spotify and many, many others. It will then also automatically share your podcast across all major social media, making your job easier so you can spend more time recording the podcasts that you love and less time managing them on the back end. Podbeam is your all-in-one solution for your podcast needs. Click on the link below, the CASHLOREN, and get your 1 free month today. The corporate media has lied to the American voters for such a long time that they have lost all their influence as a result. And this has also led to the rise of the independent creators, just like here on the CASHLOREN show, where we take our spare bedroom and convert it into a studio. If you're enjoying this content, it will always be free, but you can continue to help support monetarily if you choose to do so. Click on the locals link. It is only $5 a month. This is just a cup of coffee. Not only will you be supporting an independent creator, but you'll be getting lots of free perks in addition to that as well, including exclusive articles and Sunday shows, and thanking you at the end of videos with your name recognition. Take a moment and consider it and help support independent creators as we fight fake news. Go to locals right now, hit the support button for just a cup of coffee a month. It'll be worth every single penny, and you're getting lots of extra benefits too. Yeah, I'm getting some comments from people who I assume on the left are saying that political violence is not from the left or from the right. It's obviously from the left. It was Charlie Kirk today, it was Donald Trump, and many others. And to help bring this point home, as I happen to have a clap, here's BLM earlier today, and this is before Trump was shot. This is after the Ukrainian woman lost her life to that black man that you weren't supposed to know about, but thanks to independent journalism, thanks to like here on the CASHLOREN show. And speaking of the show, the CASHLOREN show, we just crossed 15,000 live viewers on X. I appreciate every single one of you as we continue to grow from zero and to become larger. You can take a moment, share this post, and help us spread this American First message to more Americans. They need to hear about how great and exceptional our country is and what the left is trying to do to destroy it. But on the assassinations we're talking about, here's BLM and what they think of what happens if somebody commits murder.
Right to violence. All oppressed people have a right to violence. And I'm going to tell you something. It's like the right to pee. You got to have the right place. You got to have the right time. You got to have the appropriate situation. And I'm absolutely convinced that this is it.
Let that sink in for a moment. This is the BLM, the Black Lives Matter, who burned down cities. Remember, we weren't allowed to talk about any of that, about all the police that they went after, all the people that they harmed. And what did she just say? Violence is justified. If you're oppressed, and of course, what does oppressed mean? Well, I don't know. Because no one here in the United States is oppressed. But here in the United States, you have more opportunity now than anybody has ever had in the history of the United States, of the world. That's why so many people come here to the land of the oppressed. You know, so people don't leave. People want to come here. If capitalism was so bad, if we were so oppressed, then why would they come here? Of course, the answer is very obvious at their line, but they make this stuff up to justify violence. In fact, not only, just like she said, not only is violence warranted, that violence is justified. If you're oppressed, meaning if you're someone who's black, and then you can just kill people based on the color of skin. And because you're oppressed, that is justified. And that is exactly what she just said. play that one more time.
Right to violence. All oppressed people have a right to violence. And I'm going to tell you something. It's like the right to pee. You got to have the right place. You got to have the right time. You got to have the appropriate situation. And I'm absolutely convinced that this is it.
This is right after an innocent Ukraine woman who survived a war-torn country came to the United States, was innocent, sitting by herself on her cell phone, minding her own business. And this black man who should have been in prison stabbed her in the neck and she bled out in seconds. And then you had other people on the train who also happened to be black, just stood there and watched her bleed out. In fact, one of them pulled out their phone and started recording her dying. Did nothing to help her. I guess they wanted some TikTok views. They value that more than a human life. But, violence is warranted according to her. And this is more rhetoric from the left. This is going back on Charlie Kirk. So this post right here, when I got it, had 11 million views. In this, it had 146,000 people liked it. This is what the post said. Maybe Charlie Kirk shouldn't have spent years being a hateful demagogue fascist and this wouldn't have happened. Maybe he should have taken some personal responsibility. That got 146,000 likes. What did Charlie Kirk do? Go into colleges and talk to young people and have a debate and have a discussion. At the very heart of the United States, our right to speak our minds. But because he said words that were true and that the Democrats did not want you to know, therefore they justified violence and they took his life. 147,000 or 146,000 likes for that rhetoric. Another one from the same person. This had over 550,000 views. This is the violent world that we want to have pushing for so long. No tears for its architects. So she's, again, the left is calling for violence. You can go on X probably right now as it was all day long. And you have people all the way down the left over and over going, praising and calling this for violence. I could do a show, nothing but these, read them throughout the entire show, and have, thousands or more left over. That's how dangerous and violent the left is. Truly, absolutely evil and disgusting. And they know 100% what they're doing. And as we talk about how they justify violence and they justify this based on skin colors, we had Matt Walsh. He did quite a bit of digging here. And he was talking about the things that the left thinks we're not allowed to talk about. Right? The extreme problems we have with the violent left, this is the black community against the white community, as go back to Barack Hussein Obama, who started this, try to separate people by race war, and then justify violence. By telling people that they're oppressed, right? By telling them that, the evil white man's going to get them, just then justifying violence. But the numbers are absolutely stacking. Here are some of them. Statistically, and I want you to remember before we get into someone who's like white is about 60% of the United States of America. People who are black are about 15%, okay, population-wise. So remember that when we read out these stats. But a white person is 30 times more likely to be killed by a black person than the other way around. Remember, there are 4 times as many white people in this country, yet they are 30 times more likely to be killed by someone who is black. In 2019 alone, there were 560,000 violent interracial incidents between black and whites. 470,000 of them were black on white. That's 85%. It did also talk about this is 15% of the country. It's even less than that when you're taking this as black males. The black males is about 6% of the country. Produced about 85% of violent crimes against people who are not theirs. And I don't think it talks about this stuff. There's also another stuff, the black on black crime. When they want to talk about the police all the time, but they don't want to talk about is how over 95% of black men who are murdered by other black men. They never want to talk about this either. Because these stats, these statistics get in the way of the Democrats' narratives. They try to ignore it. 240 black people were killed by whites. Okay? 560 white people were killed by blacks. And then we go in about blacks, and 60% versus whites. And then it says there's over 171 million more white people in this country, yet blacks do the majority. And then, like we just pointed out, not just interracial, but also into their own. And these are just raw numbers. This isn't taking into account the separation of how many there are, whites versus blacks. And then a lot comes in where the Democrats, and they try to pretend that they're not creating this vile criminal enterprise. We have the top 10 cities in the U.S. The highest crime rates of all cities are all Democrat. Memphis, St. Louis, Detroit, Baltimore, Oakland, Little Rock, New Orleans, Cleveland, Houston, Kansas City. If you go to the top 20, only one is run by Republicans, 19 by Democrats. And now we're finding out that the Democrats are not only the top in all these violent crimes, but they're also lying and over-reporting about the statistics, just like they did in Washington, D.C., just like they do in California and New York and other places. So they're actually much, much worse. And Vice President J.D. Vance said this, and he's 100% right here too. Apparently, all right, there we go. Is TikTok had to do that stupid puzzle thing. I don't know. Anyone know on TikTok on there, is that because is it not see my hands move enough or something? When it was just all of a sudden like, are you still there? And I got to slide a puzzle piece to stop it. Maybe I'm not, I don't know. I don't think I think maybe I'm not moving my hands enough towards the end. If there's something else, let me know. Anyways, Vice President says this. If you look statistically, most of the violent crimes in our cities are committed by a very small fraction. 1% of the population. If we just throw those people in jail and keep them in prison, we could make everybody in America safer. And this is 100% facts. Like we do with the Ukrainian woman who was murdered by the black man. He was in prison 14 times. And this DEI judge released him on his own recognizance. These judges need to start being held responsible for what they are doing to the American people. And when these DAs, when they refuse to prosecute, or they undercharge, or they give these sweetheart deals because of the base of someone's color of skin, they need to be held responsible as well. We have another statistic that came out here. This is saying 43% of all murders are only committed by 3% of the population. 43% of murders committed by 3% of the population. What percentage of the population do you want to guess that is? If anyone who's listening knows the automatic thing. This is black males from the age range of 14 to 49. The other part of this conversation that we need to have, since I'm low on moments, we've got a lot more statistics, but I want to cover the other side of this because there's two sides to this problem. Okay, first side is you have to lock up criminals and you have to keep them in prison. If you do that, lives are saved. But then you need to answer the question, why is this so predominantly on Black America when there's such a small percentage of the country? Why are they so much more violent? I mean, is the Black community more inherently violent? I don't know. Of course not. This is not a racial issue. Even though the statistics break down in race, the Democrats want to make it about race, this is not a racial issue. This is a cultural issue. And the cultural issue is this, that the Democrats had convinced Black women to kick the fathers out of the home in exchange for government benefits. Lyndon B. Johnson's Great Society. And we know overwhelmingly when a child grows up with a single mother they are much more likely to live in poverty, to do drugs, to commit crimes. The statistics don't lie. And the exact opposite, the way to beat this is also not through the government, it's through the nuclear family. Is to have a mother and a father who have an income, then they get married, then they have children after they're married. They raise those children in a two-parent household. There's a mother, and a father. And then those kids go on, graduate high school, have a job, get married, and it goes down. And if you do that, that gives you the statistically best chance to live a great life. Well, the Democrats have lied for such a long time that specifically to the Black community, that is the cause. See, this is not a racial issue. This is a cultural issue. Anyone who's listening, I hope they learn and understand from this. Graduate high school, have a job. And then once you have those things, get married. And then once you're married, have children. See, the government benefits are not really a benefit. They're poison fruit. And the moment you bite that apple, that leads to poverty, drugs, and death. And they specifically targeted the Black community. And unfortunately, the Black community bought into it. And to this day, we'll have these arguments about how the government's here to help them and help to save them, and how they're calling for reparations, when it's the government that caused all these problems in the very first place. So kick the government out of your life. Chase the American dream. Pursue happiness. The government is not the solution. The government is the problem. You are the solution. No one's going to care about the outcome of your life more than you do. So make the hard decisions. Make the good ones. If you do that, you can change the statistics around. And your children don't have to end up in poverty and death. Get married, stay married, and then have children under our Lord Savior Jesus Christ. Do that, the highest percentage chance to not be one of these statistics. It doesn't matter what color your skin is, and to live the American dream. With that, I am over again. The rest of these stories will have to go back in the stack. We're going to do something that we've been doing lately is I'm going to shut down the main show, but we're going to continue on TikTok. So over on X, let's see. Oh, we're almost at 19,000 live viewers now on X. Thank you so much, every single one of you, for tuning into the show. This means a lot. Please share the show and help us continue to spread. Take a moment and repost. And then if you're interested, come over on X, the same at over on TikTok at the CASHLOREN Show and join us. I'll continue on for a few more minutes. If anyone wants to come up and speak their minds, we can have a conversation and have a few more stories to go on, and we'll see how long that goes for. For that, we're going to end the main show, and then you can also subscribe and support the show. One way you can do so is over on Locals for just $5 a month. Help us stay independent, keep the lights on, and continue to fight the mainstream media. And also on TikTok, you can subscribe and also gain exclusive content there. For that, we'll be back again on Friday at 8 p.m., and then you can join us over on TikTok and continue the conversation. We'll be back in just a few minutes. This is the CASHLOREN Show.